Okay, so the Book of Enoch says that the sun and the stars bring the year into 364 days with perfect justice. There are some people who are actually starting to pay attention to these luminaries and make observations of their own with a telescope or sundial, or what have you. And so there are people who have proved that the stars are on this 364-day cycle. And I'll include links for that in the description below. But the stars, have essentially been hijacked by the pagans over the years, things like the zodiac and whatnot. But aside from that, the Creator did have his own original design for them, and like Paul said, there's nothing unclean of itself. It's what you do with a thing that makes it unclean, like, eating an animal that eats its own its own bodily waste, like that. It's not having that animal as a pet, like a dog, for example, but like eating that animal that does those kinds of, or that is an unclean animal. Eating it makes it that unclean. The act of eating it is like the. So as far as like what people know about the stars nowadays, like people call them zodiac and like they like to read their fortunes or whatnot, like. There's a purpose aside from that, and the stars are clean and wonderful and awesome in and of themselves. The constellations, even this pattern of the constellations, which people call the zodiac, but the Creator had an original purpose and design for them. So I tried to track down the origins of the names of the star patterns and the things that they represent from the Creator's point of view. I know at least 2 of them are mentioned in the book of Job, like Orion and Pleiades, and they're referred to generally as the Mazzaroth. In addition, some people might not, realize that there are 12 major main constellations. I mean, and so you think about that for a second, 12. Like, anything come to mind? 12 months. Like, and that's, I guess, kind of where the zodiac gets its thing. Like, there's a sign or constellation for every month. So, I'll discuss more about that in a video that talks specifically on the topic of the month, but I do think it's a very important point, because when people think month, they usually don't think stars, or sun, for that matter. They're thinking moon. They think that's their only option, but according to the Book of Enoch, the calendar section, it starts off by saying the luminaries and their months. So it was plural luminaries, and months was also plural. So like it's not just the moon, like the sun and the stars and the moon all have different month cycles. Okay, so finally, there's an interesting picture in the stars. Potentially, a lot of things mentioned in the book of Revelation are, I don't know if I like the woman in Revelation, like I'm not talking about her, the one clothed with the sun, moon, and stars. I do think that is describing like his people, like his bride, like I'm pretty sure it is. Like you read verses later that that's his people, that's the saints, and she was clothed on the moon, had the stars, saying is she like these are the hates. In the book of Daniel it said he would think to change times and laws. Revelation, here the patience of the saints, testimony of Yeshua. Like the times, and I think this woman, the Creator's timepieces, like she them, is observing them, and she's. I mean, there are people I know who get on this thing about the stars being a picture of that woman in Revelation. I've just kind of heard some thoughts on that, and maybe there's something to that. But what I meant when I was referring to potentially a lot of things about the stars in the book of Revelation was things like the four-headed creature, and kind of like the picture of the throne. Like, you ever wonder about that those 4 living creatures with the 4 different heads, kind of a weird sounding thing. Well, I've heard a man, Leeland Jones, give some interesting thoughts on that, and I'll include some links for his videos below. But also, I guess this whole time maybe I've had a picture of some information I got about the stars, kind of their their Hebrew names, maybe. But I do encourage you to look into it. I don't know all about it yet, but I do think there's something significant. But like the month thing is pretty cool. 12 months. It's just another way to confirm time, and month thing is pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's that's about, well, yeah, and so the other thing is, the Book of Enoch says at one point, the sun rises, yada yada, according to its sign. So yeah, I do think the stars are an important timepiece too that a lot of people overlook. Definitely on a yearly cycle, and I think probably on a monthly cycle as well. All right, shalom and Yah bless.